Right now, the time is 9:32. You're watching Live Impact News here on WCNC Plus, and a recently released Senate report reveals details about the Secret Service, the failures during the attempted assassination of President Trump last year at a rally in Pennsylvania. This report describes a cascade, quote, a cascade of preventable failures, and calls for more disciplinary action against the agency. So with us this morning right now to discuss these findings is Marcus Snipe, a former Secret Service agent with 25 years serving many presidents, both Bushes, President Clinton and Obama. Marcus, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thanks for helping us weigh in. So when you heard about this report, what was your reaction?
Well, my reaction was the same as it was for many former agents with the agency. Disappointment. Secret Service agents, we pride ourselves on paying attention to detail, checking twice, going over what-if scenarios to make sure an incident that happened doesn't happen. So the initial feeling was, hey, sadness, disappointment. I felt for the agency. I felt for those agents that are now in the agency, the scrutiny that they were going to come, that was going to be pounded upon them. And yeah, I think disappointment would be the word or word that I would use for the Secret Service actions that day.
The report says that the agency was aware of a suspicious person about 45 minutes before shots were fired, but failed to act. From your experience, how should the situation have been handled?
First off, the situation shouldn't have gotten to where it got. The security advance process is supposed to mitigate and eliminate all of that. That security advance process in a case like this, or for this event, happened or started maybe a week or more out of planning this event. And during that process, you're so meticulous. You're working with law enforcement, local law enforcement. You're working with the groups within the Secret Service. You're working with the campaign staff to make sure that you have a security plan that's solid and can't be breached. You're going over the what ifs. You're speaking with your local law enforcement counterparts to make sure everyone's on the same page, everyone's communicating the same way, everyone has everything covered. And that didn't happen that day. That didn't happen during that advance process. So when there's a breakdown in that security advance process, here's the result. And that's what Secret Service agents are trained on when it comes to protection. We don't want it to get to that point. We want to prevent it from getting to that point, and that happens in the advance planning process. And obviously there were some failures in that process.
You and I talked on the phone sometime yesterday, and just to say that the Secret Service is by nature apolitical. How does that principle guide agents' approach when it comes to protecting someone like the president, regardless of their political affiliation?
Well, I like to say we protect the office of the presidency. Yes, the president is an individual. The president belongs to a particular political party. But Secret Service agents, especially Secret Service agents on the president's detail or uniform division officers, technicians, administrative staff, we're all protecting the office of the presidency. I've been involved with, Republican staff, Democratic staff, Republican presidents, Democratic presidents. Yes, the individual is the president. However, our job is to ensure that the presidency is intact, and we're looking more about we're more interested in protecting the office of the presidency, and the individual. But just because that president is a Democrat or that president is a Republican makes no difference to agents in the Secret Service.
Yeah, got it. The report also reveals the Secret Service headquarters denied or left unfulfilled at least 10 requests for additional resources, including counter sniper personnel. How unusual is that for resource requests to be denied?
And not knowing the circumstances and what was requested, and what was going on, what other protectees that the Secret Service was involved with during this time period. All that goes into how you assess whether or not a protectee needs enhanced or more security. The intelligence that you receive on a particular protectee, the status of a particular protectee, all that goes into play. And if the Secret Service was stretched out to the point where they had multiple protectees to protect, there are only so many assets to go around, and that decision has to be made based on the threat level or who the protectee is, where the protectee is going, so on and so forth. So I'm sure that was all discussed. The decision was made, maybe to not send a certain amount of assets to that particular site. And that was based on what they knew at the time or what they felt they knew at the time that was best for the agency as a whole. So it's good. Yes, you can go back and Monday morning quarterback and say they shouldn't have denied these assets. But, at the time, President Trump was a candidate for the presidency, and the Secret Service, from my understanding, gave him more assets and protective assets than they normally would a person of his status. They gave him a counter sniper team. He had counter assault agents assigned to him, so on and so forth. So they did enhance the assets that they provided to them, but it's just not that simple. It's just not that simple of a formula that you could call in and say, I need 5 more agents, because the agency has to find those agents or maybe take those agents away from another assignment or another protectee.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. He was running for president, not holding the office of presidency there. 6 Secret Service employees were suspended without pay between 10 and 42 days, but not a single person has been fired. And this report asking for more disciplinary action, or that there should have been more severe disciplinary action. Is the level of discipline here in this case appropriate for failures of this magnitude?
It's a difficult, question for me to answer, but I'll do my best. The agents that were ultimately responsible for what happened, I feel, were disciplined. Whether or not that they need the discipline should have included being fired, I can't really comment on that, because I don't know how much what the investigation entailed and how much, if it was a combination of failures or if it was a single failure. If it was one agent who didn't do what they were supposed to do, or was it all 6 of them combined, they all bear the responsibility. So it's a fine line when you talk about disciplining agents for failures like this, because you've got to think of the rest of the agents in the agency. You've got to think of the rest of the technicians, the officers, other people associated with the Secret Service who are looking at this and looking at how they're going to deal, or how their counterparts are being dealt with. And that affects the way you go about your job. So I know a lot of that factored in. And it's difficult for me, not being a part of that investigation, to comment on whether or not the discipline was adequate. There should have been some discipline, obviously, and there was. Whether it should have been harsher, it's hard for me to say.
And Marcus, I mean, looking at your 25 years of experience, having served presidents, again, on both political parties, have you seen failures of this scope before? And what do you think? What does it typically take then for to rebuild the trust in the agency?
I think you have to, yes, after every event, the Secret Service advance team, that team does an after-action report. After every event, the Secret Service actually goes in and self-evaluates itself. How do we do? We missed this. There was a hole here. There was a gap here. So that has to continue. However, for example, when I was on the president's detail, we had the Salahi incident. And morale was horrible because we just don't let stuff like that happen. That's another advanced failure, another point where we weren't paying attention to detail, and the morale of the agency took a big hit. But it's a slow process regaining that trust. You have to take a look, and you have to criticize yourself. You can't say that we didn't make a mistake, because you actually did. But it takes that self-evaluation and letting the public know that, hey, we are taking a look at ourselves. We made mistakes, and we're taking steps to improve.
Marcus Snipe, former Secret Service agent for 25 years. Thank you for joining us here and giving us your insight. Interesting conversation.
Happy to do it. You have a great day.
You have a great day, too. Thanks, Marcus.